You are listening to Belly Birth Beyond with Pelvic Floor Mama. I'm your host, Becca Boeving, pelvic rehab certified coach and mom of two. Welcome to the safe space where no topics of motherhood are off limits and judgment is left at the door. Too many mamas are dismissed when they've got valid concerns. If you're sick of hearing that's normal when it feels otherwise, keep listening. I am so excited for this episode. This is the first one with a mom from the Momma community. I have Esther here with us. She joined the community like a year ago, I think. Her baby is almost 9 months old. So Esther, do you remember when you first sent me a message?
I very vividly remember. I do, because I had just come out of a in-person pelvic floor therapist appointment, and I was just at a loss. And I just remember jumping on Instagram and I think hashtag, I just Googled pelvic floor pregnancy related anything, and your channel or your Instagram popped up, and that was my first introduction. I just started binging through, and I remember clicking the story you had posted that day, and everything you posted back to back was all the same things going through my head. And I was like, I don't know how this girl just dropped into my lap, but I am following, I am messaging her right this minute. And it was after that, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. This girl has got all the information I was needing and not getting at my in-person appointment, So that was, I remember feeling just a breath of fresh air, like that relief when I came across your page. I was so excited. So yeah, I remember
crying reading your message. Like I think your message came to you at such a trying time. Like social media is wild. And it goes through highs and lows of, the negativity and also the positivity. And the positivity always outweighs the negativity, but some days it just really drains on you. And I remember getting your message and literally just sitting there crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Esther, I'm so glad you found me. Like, I just remember, and I remember it so vividly, which is crazy. And you were it wasn't like you were you weren't the first mom to join the community or anything like that, but you just had such an impact on like what you were going through. And so I'm just so grateful that you reached out, and you're like, it feels like you just fell into my lap.
It did. I was so excited. Yes, no, I do. And it was so funny because at that time, I just felt very defeated with all of the in-person care I was receiving. And I remember thinking, am I a crazy person for signing up for this like online, completely virtual, over the screen interaction? And I thought, maybe I'm crazy, but she seems to understand me, and I felt so heard. I was like, I don't care. I'm jumping in. It's got to be better than the care I'm receiving, through my insurance and through the medical care that I was receiving for pelvic floor therapy. And I was right. It was better than all of that. So I was excited when I finally felt like somebody I talked to looked at me more than just the basic standard industry. Oh, she's a woman, she's got a pelvis, and we're going to adjust it. It was just more pregnancy based. It was, I don't know, I just felt like that the research you had done and the information you had was so targeted to like pregnant moms and postpartum moms, not just a human being, so that was the difference I felt like in seeing your program. And so that was exciting for the first time seeing somebody from that approach. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart because it's like the people you're seeing, it's not like they wish you well too. Like I've been in the clinic before too. So sometimes it's very hard for me to be like it breaks my heart when people feel like, when moms feel like you did. And I get it all the time. And honestly, I think like 75% of the time nowadays, I'm like the last ditch effort, like everyone's like, I've tried everything. I've done physio or pelvic floor, depending on like where they're located at. And I've done all the things. I've seen a chiro, and I love chiro, and I love coupling chiro with this too. But I'm just like, you're not the first one to tell me that. And I don't think you're going to be the last one. A lot of times, like, this is like, I hate to say it, but it's like the last ditch effort. So I was like, okay, here we go. But that's what I like want from all moms. Like I feel like so often you're just dismissed, or, like, oh, you're just pregnant. You're just going to deal with it. It's whatever. Yeah. But that's not fair.
Yes. And I was feeling very hopeless in that because my mom, she's, I'm one of 5 kids, and she had 9 pregnancies. She had a few miscarriages. So she had 5 babies, but she loved being pregnant. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be like my mom. Like, I want to just enjoy the pregnancy. And when my first pregnancy was very difficult. This is my second pregnancy that I found you. And I'm just like, why can't I enjoy it? I see other people that are so excited about their bump and, there's just so many good things coming from their pregnancy. And I felt like I am a basket case. And especially this time, it was so much earlier on that I was experiencing the pelvic back pain. All of that happened way sooner. And so I just thought, there's no way I'm getting to the end of this 9 months. Besides, I think I told the one doctor, I was like, I'm probably going to be in a wheelchair. Like, I can't, I'm not moving very well. I have a toddler, so I'm just trying to think through it. And it was crazy because they were trying so hard to help, but I don't feel like they were equipped from that pregnancy perspective because, the techniques they were giving would probably help me if I wasn't pregnant at the time. It wasn't that they were bad pelvic floor therapists. It was just, it wasn't personalized to the care I was needing. And so when I was coming to them with the issues, they did their best to kind of just diagnose it how they would anybody, but it wasn't effective. So I felt like I was kind of wasting my time at that point, just coming in, doing the work at home, but not seeing any results. And then they were trying to help with certain things to help with, incontinence, and they really recommended Kegels, but I just kept saying, there's gotta be something for the pain, because if I just keep going, it's going to get very discouraging. And it kind of scares you for future pregnancies because you're like, if this one was hard, if my second one was harder, oh my word, like I'll probably not be able to make it through the third one, so you just kind of get in that rut. But it's, that, like you're saying, I don't think that their mindset was trying to give me bad care. It just didn't translate very well. With being pregnant, your body works so much differently and it's working harder than it usually does. So I've learned a lot just in doing my research this time around. So I feel better educated moving forward. So that's encouraging too.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, you just touched on like so many pieces that I'm passionate about, which is probably why when you came to my page, you're like, wow, she gets me, because I think when you were saying why can't I enjoy pregnancy so often? And I think this is even especially near and dear to my heart because I also had 2 losses, and I've had friends who have had several losses who took years to get pregnant. I've had friends who've had to go the adoption way because they couldn't have I've seen so many of these types of things. And so when moms are kind of pushed aside, and maybe not even intentionally, sometimes it's not intentional, but that's what it's kind of become. It's like you have prayed and hoped and like this is what you've wanted for so long, right? And a lot of times that's where we are, is we just want this so bad. And so when we get it, but then it's not what we expected, or we're really struggling to just get through basic needs like walking or getting dressed, like those types of things, we think like, oh, it's okay. Like, I'm so blessed to be pregnant. Like, this is such a great thing. And it is. And it still can be that way, but without having that pain and the struggling. Because like you said, like, how am I going to get through a third pregnancy? Like, I want more babies. I want this. And I know personally too, people who've like, I'm done having kids because I can't do it again. And it's like, I want you to get to the point where you're done having kids because that's where you guys feel like this is our family. We're complete, not because your body's given up on you, and not because you feel like there's nothing else you can do. And so that's
I definitely
just so.
Yeah, you feel like your body's failing you, and you feel like I must be doing something wrong because other people are just, they're like, oh yeah, I have the occasional backache or something, and I'm like, what am I doing? And it just could be how your body is constructed and how the baby's sitting and all of that. So I really I did go to a chiropractor, and I found the chiropractor I visited, she was a prenatal chiropractor. So she focused on the Webster technique, I think it is. But that helps with labor and everything. So I kind of double whammied. I kind of had both sides of somebody who was more natural minded. They were really focused on, I felt like I had this big team of people this time around that were trying to get me to my end goal. And so I remember very vividly when I had the baby, I just felt like I've got to tell everybody that my team worked. I felt like I was, Superman or something, just had all these different people that were supporting and helping and encouraging. And then when it worked, I was just like, oh my goodness, like the work everybody's putting in and helping me with it's come out, and everybody worked together, and I felt just so good about it overall. Just, it was exciting to feel like, I don't know, I just kind of felt encouraged in the fact that my body didn't fail me. My body is made to do this. Our bodies are created to do this. It was exciting to feel like that was a totally different experience, and birth didn't just happen to me. I wasn't just sitting there and taking each hit as it happened. And then it can come into that, is my labor experience, is that something traumatic that I'm going to have to work through down the road? Because it can be, it's such a vulnerable time as a woman. So for that to be, for you to be able to get through it and have a positive outlook was exciting for me, because I know so many mamas who didn't want that birth experience to look differently, and it did. And it's something more of a negative that they have to work through. And it was exciting for this time around. My first labor was an induction. This time I didn't have to get induced. So it was just little, I mean, they're not even little wins in my opinion. They were big wins. And it was exciting to be able to see those completely 180 birth experience and, find that it was possible for me to have that. So it was exciting.
Yeah. And I love that. And that's like, I was on Threads the other day, which I'm not on Threads very often. I feel like I'm too old for it, even though I'm not. Like, I just can't keep up with all the new social media.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was in there the other day, and someone was asking about birth, of course, of some nature, like just recommendations of things. And I was like, well, you need my friend's a nurse for her like hospital birth course if you're going to give a hospital birth. You need Emily from Magnolia Birth if you're looking for a doula or a birth plan. I'm like, you need. I'm sure there's people I'm going to miss here, but I'm like, and I like had them all listed out of like
Right.
you need. And one of Colette, my friend's a nurse, had commented on it, and she was just like, it takes a village to get through your pregnancy. And it's like, it takes a village to raise your children and to like just get through it, right? And it's like, it really does, you kind of need that for your pregnancy as well. Those people who are in your corner to support you and find, like you were talking about, like to have you have the birth that you want with whatever that looks like, medicated, unmedicated, if you like whatever that is, in a hospital, at home, like there's so many different options. And it's a village. It is
Yeah.
a village. And unfortunately, you have to like go out and look for that village. Like, you have to find your people, and you have to advocate for it, or both, right? It's just not a typical. So often we go into like our doctor's offices or the hospital, like just blindly trusting them, which we should in a way be able to do. But unfortunately, that's what leads to those, traumatic experiences, or the unnecessary inductions, or coached pushing, and now you've just torn and you pushed for 4 or 5 hours and you're exhausted. And that is like, I don't know. So
No,
it's a
100%. I
for
think
sure. But
pregnancy can be a very lonely time. So when you find people that get it and understand you, it just changes your whole perspective. It's kind of like this little bit of positivity that you're like, okay, I'm not the only woman in the world who's looking and educating herself and on what my body's actually doing. And I came from a home where my mom was very open about birth. She had 5 home births, just very more on the natural side. So I felt like, okay, I can do this. But I wasn't as educated as I felt like I was going into it. And so I think with the inductions and the medical interventions, I chose to have a hospital birth versus doing a home birth. I still did it, unmedicated, but besides the whatever it's called, induction medicines. But other than that, it felt like sometimes you feel like even knowing how birth works, or it should work, it feels like it's simple, but there's so many little factors that change your experience. And then to educate yourself so it doesn't feel scary is also helpful. And I don't feel like I knew going into my first pregnancy. You don't know. How can you know what contractions are going to feel like, or how can you know if the baby's going to have any issues? It's very unknown. And so I think the more you know and the more you educate yourself, I see a lot of my friends who kind of went into it with a winging it aspect. I think a lot of those people I noticed came out with a more traumatic perspective of their birth, because it, like I said earlier, like it feels like birth just happened to you. You went to a hospital, you went in, and it just like happened, and you have to take it for what it is. So the more education I put into it, and really just watching labor videos and watching women go through it and seeing what they did and how they got their end result, it was encouraging to know, like, okay, I'm not the only person in America that's going to be giving birth at this time. Somebody else is in this with me. And the more work you put into educating yourself, the less scary it feels, because you feel a little bit more prepared in some ways. In some of that, you won't know until you're in there, but there is a lot of research you can do, so you're not as shocked by the birth experience. So
exactly, because it's like, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know. Like, you don't. And I was one of those people. I was a naive first time mom. It was COVID baby too, on top of it. and I was 41 weeks in a couple days. I should have known I kind of knew in a way I was going to go over, but I also had it set in my head that my son was going to be like 9 days early or something. My dad had passed on that day, and I was like, I'm having a boy. My boy is going to come on that day, and it's going to make it a good day, you know? That was in my head. That was like what I had from the second I knew it was a boy. Like I was like, he's coming July 25th. Joke was on me, August 16th. But it was like one of those types of things where you don't know what you don't know until you don't know. And I actually had PTSD when I was getting ready for his first birthday. Like, it was the day that my induction had started. We're like trying to do decorations and stuff. And I'm just like, a year ago today, we were in hell. Like, it was hell. And I still feel that way. Like, I love my boy to death, but like, I wouldn't, that birth was nothing I want to go back to. So, and that's kind of like, that's one of the biggest reasons why I started doing this, is because I was in the health field. I was healthy. I was active. Like, you know, like what can happen? A lot can happen, or a lot can happen that you just don't understand. And, I don't know. So that's just, I think the famous saying, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. But I love that you're talking about how just like learning more and understanding more of it, because there are the uncontrollables that you won't know until you're experiencing it. But that made you feel more prepared. It kind of disintegrated some of that fear or that nervousness surrounding it. That is so important. And I feel like that itself holds power. Like, that's where you are powerful, is just by feeling more in control and knowing those things of, yes, I want that, or no, I don't want that, or, you know, being able to speak up, and even having your partner speak up for you sometimes too. Because I don't think about it as my partner's going through this with me, because I'm the one in the birth, but at the same time they are, and they're trying to be there for you. So
yeah, I do. Yeah, and it was exciting this time around too, seeing my husband get a little bit more involved. I think our first birth being an induction, we were just so nervous, and it just is a lengthy process for most people. So going into it, we're thinking, we're having a baby today. You're not having a baby today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good length of time to get your body to be ready for that. And so, you know, you get excited, and then that excitement kind of wears off, and then you kind of get panicky because you're like, this is taking so long. I should have this baby in my arms by now. And then, you know, I remember being, in my first delivery, and they were like, we can tell you're tired. We should talk about C-section. And I just looked at them and I said, I didn't recommend that. You know, I'm not going through labor all of this time and doing it, you know, without an epidural. I was so determined. I'm like, I'm not doing this to have a C-section in the end. And it wasn't at a point where it was risky enough to where I needed to. It was just, they could tell I was so ready to have this baby. And that was a messy situation in general, because my nurse, I didn't really love how she was. She was just very like, sweetie, just in my face. And I'm, you know, when you're in the zone, you don't need somebody, you know, the same age as you looking at you being like, it's okay, sweetie. I'm like, it's not. Come feel what I'm feeling. It's not okay right now. But after that, I had a new nurse. I remember my new nurse came in the morning after that whole night, and she was just like, we're going to help you get this baby out. And she put me in some uncomfortable positions, some sideline positions. And when she came in, I thought, okay, I can trust this lady. She's going to help me. Like, we're going to get this baby out. And she did that. Close to the afternoon, I remember, you know, just the pride you feel afterwards. It kind of, not the birth experience goes away, you're aware of it, but it makes it worth it in so many ways, because you're just like, okay, we did it. We got through it. It's not how I wanted to, but that I took from it, and I just said, I'm not doing that again. So whatever I need to do to prepare and to help my body to not get stuck at 9 centimeters, and to not, I mean, my baby was 9'9" for my first baby. So 9 pounds, 9 ounces, you know, I think I had one stitch for my first delivery. I know I really tried to make sure I pushed in a way that I didn't tear any crazy way. And that was great. But so there was little things I took that I was happy with, but there was so much I thought, I can do this better next time, and I'm going to prepare myself better mentally, emotionally, physically. You know, I just didn't want that experience again. I was looking forward to a change. And it was awesome, because my second delivery, it was exactly the opposite. It was only, I think, about 6 to 8 hours maximum. I really didn't even count it until I got to the hospital, because laboring at home, I still felt like the contractions were at a manageable point, and we had about an hour drive to the hospital. So once we got there, labor kind of slowed, and I kind of expected that. I kept telling them they're gonna send me home because I had never gone to a hospital in labor. I was nervous that they were just gonna send me on my way, and they said, "You're 6.5 centimeters. I don't think they're sending you home." So I remember they tried to let me just naturally go back into labor, and I could tell, you're kind of disrupted from the groove of working through those contractions. And I just told them, just let's break my water, and I remember vividly saying, let's get this party started. And they said, you know what happens when when we break your water, the contractions are going to be intense. And I said, that's fine. Let's get the party started. Let's do it. And I mean, that first contraction, I was like, it's not quite a party, but we've started something. So I remember right after that, I was like, whew, we're there. And an hour later, she was born. It was a crazy experience, because you go from thinking, is this ever going to happen? And my last delivery was so long. And I kept telling people, I had a doula there. I just kept saying, I'm going to stall. I'm going to stall. And she said, this is not that same delivery. Totally different experience. And I remember, you're in transition and it's intense. And I remember saying, I don't want to do the sideline position, because I knew that was the most intense, pain wise. So I just said, I'm going to go to the bathroom, kind of like, oh, look, there's a squirrel, trying to distract everyone. I'm going to go to the bathroom and see if maybe emptying my bladder will help maybe lower this baby down a little bit more. And I remember just sitting there, and I pushed, and my midwife was sitting right there. She's like, okay, it's time to go. Because, at that point when I went to the bathroom, I was 8 centimeters. So I went from 8 to 10 and just, like an exhale, basically. So I was so excited. We basically just jumped onto the bed on all fours, and she was born within just a couple pushes. But from that experience of being like, this baby is not coming, and is she ever going to be here, to just literally relaxing my body, just one breath. And then I remember that sound you make when you start pushing. You're like, yep, no questions about it. I'm pushing, this baby's coming out. So it was exciting to have that 180, because it was finally a labor. I was so geeked about it. Like, I did it. It was exactly how I wanted it to go. It was fast. I didn't get stuck. All those fears you have if you haven't any past experiences. It was, I was so excited about the chiropractor and the pelvic floor exercises I had tried, because everything I was doing was being advertised. Quick labor, quick recovery. And so to have that exactly, to a T, what I experienced was, I'm so grateful for that, because I felt like all that work that everybody put in and that I put in paid off. And I was so proud of that story, because I'm just like, we did it, we all did it. So
watching you talk about it, I have goosebumps. Like, you can visibly see how much joy it brought you, like, you're literally smiling ear to ear. You're like, I did it, and that is what every mom deserves to have, is that, like, being able, we're almost 9 months later, and you still are like, yes. And, you're going to have that story forever. Like, that is your birth. That is your story. You own that. And that is so, I'm just so, you did it. You put in the work. You did everything, and you made it happen. It was that determination. It was that, I can do this better, and I want to do this better.
Yeah. But I think some of that came from feeling like, when I met you, I felt like somebody finally listened to what I was saying. And I felt like for a while there, towards that middle of my pregnancy, I thought I felt very alone in it. And I felt like everything I was hearing is just, wait for the baby to be born. You'll be fine in a few months. And I just didn't want that story. Like, I wanted to be able to walk around with this big old pregnant belly with my toddler and not be just in insane amounts of pain, because labor is intense. There's a lot of moments of pain and intensity, but I didn't want my entire experience from that exciting news of a pregnancy test to delivery to be painful and kind of disappointing. And so when I talked to you and you kind of said, this does not have to be this way, it was the first time somebody had told me that, and I believed it. I was just like, I am sick of people telling me, just wait till it's over, or it's normal. I hated that phrase. Like, that was one of the first things I read from your page was, just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal, or it should be normal. And so, taking that and just saying, like, okay, everybody's telling me that this pain is normal. It's not normal. It's not healthy. That's not a good way for our body to be growing a baby. It should not be this extremely painful situation. But then taking that and saying, someone out there in the world knows that this can be done better, and I don't have to live like I'm just this human incubator, and it doesn't have to be, I don't know. I wanted it to be a beautiful thing and not just,
Yeah.
awful. So I think that was exciting when I looked into it and realized I'm not the only one out there that knows that there's something wrong with what I'm being told. And also knowing I just have to learn the exercises. I have to learn the different maneuvers to not live a painful 9 months, and into your postpartum, because it does affect your healing and your recovery and all of the things. It's not just 9 months of pain. You could be looking at, pelvic floor dysfunction postpartum if you're not, educating and learning how to deal with those things through your pregnancy. It can only make it worse for your postpartum experience. And you're already dealing with hormones and all of the things postpartum. You don't want to be dealing with insane pelvic floor dysfunction on top of that. So yeah, there's a lot to it, that I've been learning. And a lot of that is thanks to you and your course and your Instagram and all of that. I learned from you. So that was awesome.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Like when you think about pregnancy, you think, oh, like, you probably don't hop to the end of like, oh, well, labor, but at the same time, you have that thought of like, okay, how am I going to get through labor? I've heard it's really uncomfortable and terrible. And like, the media and TV and friends who've had traumatic experiences make that also like a little bit more scary and a little more like, can I handle the pain? What's the pain like? But then when you're struggling with pain during pregnancy, you're like, I mean, labor, like 1 to 2 days, right? Like when I say it that way, it sounds terrible because that's really long. But essentially, you're like 1 to 2 days, right? But your pregnancy is 9 to 10 months. Like yeah. I can only help those people who want help, and there's been people who don't, and that's totally fine. But for those who have been like, I don't know if I can make it X more months, X more weeks, and I'm like, you shouldn't have to. That's the whole point. And it's not like there's not really that end in sight. And so you're like, just give me an induction. Tell me what date this baby's coming. Give me an induction. There are moms, you talked about a wheelchair. There are moms that end up in a wheelchair. There are moms who end up with a walker. And it's like, how are we just accepting this reality? Like especially as medical professionals, just giving them these types of things, which they need probably at this point, but like, can't we do something else for them too? I just don't.
Right. And I think I thought, oh, it's going to be so hard. Like getting help or getting out of the pain is going to be like a very complicated process. And I think it was a little bit frustrating to know, like once I started the course, I mean, these are easy exercises. This is instant pain relief. This isn't even, I mean, I remember just the first few exercises I did, I was like, that is the spot that I'm experiencing pain. And then to know, okay, this is where my pain's coming from. How do I target the right exercise to relieve some of that pain? And I felt like, oh, that's going to be really hard. But when I started doing the exercises, I mean, it was immediate relief. And I'm like, okay, I thought this was going to be this big, do it for 7 months or, but you kind of feel like by the time I jump in, I'm past the point, I'll just get through it. And to know, I just kind of thought, how did nobody know that this was this simple to receive pain relief in pregnancy? How did nobody that I went to say, have you tried this exercise? Have you done this one? Have you focused on keeping your feet together when you get out of bed? I mean, just simple things that you can implement into your day-to-day routine. I'm thinking somebody failed me because it doesn't have to be uncomfortable all the time. But then to know I'm still doing some of these exercises. Just work a long day and your back sore. And I'm like, okay, I had my sister came over and she's not pregnant, but she works at a bank and she works long hours. And I said, are you feeling the low back pain right here? And she said, yes. And I said, well, this is one of those exercises I learned. And I just showed her right there on my couch. And, and that helped her out. And I'm thinking, if you're farther into your pregnancy and you're like, okay, at this point, I'm just going to have to deal with it, to know that just those few exercises, depending on where you're feeling the pain, everything's mapped out so easy to find the answers to your pain. And they weren't some crazy yoga pose that you're going to be, struggling to do. These are just simple. And, the pain it can come back and reoccur, but to know, okay, I don't have to have a horrible night's sleep. I don't have to literally just be in tears to the point you can't move. I can figure this out. And that was unheard of before in my experiences with pregnancy. I just thought this is what it is, because that's kind of what the narrative is. It's just kind of that's what you get when you get pregnant. It's got to be painful. It's got to be a hard time, and you just kind of have to deal with it. And to know that that wasn't the case was mind boggling. So yeah, there was a lot of
Yeah.
information there.
And I think we're just so used to being dismissed. And I hate to go down that road because I don't really have that like mentality of feeling that way. So sometimes when I talk that way, I'm like, I'm not really like all in there. But at the same time, we are definitely treated different than men. We are different than men. We should be different, you know? But going down that path, like there was a man who commented on something one day and I was just like, have you like if you could be pregnant and you had pain, I guarantee you they would find a solution for you. Like and maybe not, but I just have this mentality of like there's more answers out there than just, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, you're on your period. Oh, you're perimenopause or you're menopausal. Like all of these misconceptions surrounding our health are just that. They're misconceptions. Like you shouldn't have pain during your pregnancy. You shouldn't have pain with breastfeeding. You shouldn't have pain on your menstrual cycle. If your hormones are out of whack during perimenopause and menopause, there's help for you. You don't have to have hot flashes and be crazy and moody and like headaches galore. Like there's support out there for you. It's just you have to unfortunately advocate for yourself and find the people who are right for you and who work with you. But it's just it's mind-boggling. And you're right. And the exercises are so simple. And I think that's why people are like, just recently, like this last week, I've had a ton of people who are avid workouts. I have a pre and postnatal specialist who's like, I just don't think your program's going to be right for me. Like I'm a pre-postnatal specialist. What can you do for me? And I'm like, all of you have the same thing in common and you're missing the most basic pieces of what you do every single day. You're completely overlooking it because you're looking at like these workouts and these exercises and being strong and you're missing the most basic thing. Like sometimes you just need to sit and breathe. And I'm not even a yoga person or somebody who can relax like this. But sometimes you just need to, right? Like
yeah. I remember
just like
going back
once you sat in the toilet and you breathed.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I remember trying to prepare for labor and I remember who knows how many hours I spent in my first pregnancy on a ball. I'm just bouncing, I'm bouncing, I'm bouncing and thinking, I'm going to induce labor. I'm going to start labor. And I had no conception of the fact that, the leg muscles, like if those are uptight and tense, those affect your pelvic floor muscles. And so it's all this like this very well connected machine, which is supposed to work well, but bouncing on a ball for hours and having that hope, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just thinking, maybe today's going to be the day that I've bounced enough hours that it's going to start labor. And I'm thinking, why wasn't I just really relaxing and stretching those inner thigh muscles and doing some of those really long, like elongating and stretching those muscles out to just relax that baby down. Here I'm in a position where my posture is terrible. I'm just bouncing, so the baby's just floating up and down. I mean, really, it's not doing much of anything to bring her any lower, but, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm doing the right thing. I've seen it on, whatever, a TV show. They bounce on the ball and labor starts. And, to know those facts afterwards is just like, I think I must have been a crazy person. Somebody should have just told me, Esther, stop what you're doing. you gotta stretch. You gotta relax. You gotta do all these different easy things instead of wearing yourself out bouncing on the ball. So, yeah.
I did the same thing. I have literally videos of me at like 38, 39, 40 weeks pregnant trying to exercise my dang boy out. I'm like, what was I thinking? I didn't know anything at that point, like nothing. I had no pelvic floor knowledge at all at that point. And I wasn't doing anything. I was home. Like it was COVID. By the time they were bringing us back, they're like, you're about to have your baby. And that joke was on me like 8 weeks later, 9 weeks. I don't remember what it was, but it's just, and people say that like, oh, bounce on a ball. And people are like, well, when can I use a ball? Because it puts you in labor. It's like, it's not going to put you into labor, but it's going to make you feel pretty good through your pregnancy. Like I think that's my favorite tool for pregnancy, honestly, is a ball. Like if you can't do anything at all, just get yourself a ball.
Yes, and it takes up a lot of space, but I'm like, that's going to replace your couch. Just take the couch right out of your living room. You don't need it anymore. The husband can sit on the floor. You can sit on your ball. I mean, the amount of stretches that you can do and just relaxing into the ball itself is just, I'm like, this would have been a lifesaver to know these things the last time. But, you're excited when you learn something new and it helps you out for the current thing, and I don't know. I'm like, this was easy. Why didn't I know this? This was easy. And it's exciting when you can do something easy and it helps you, especially when you're huge pregnant and you're like, I just need something easy that helps. Quick, fast, pain relief. Just give me whatever that is. So
yeah, I think people think I'm like, I don't know, crazy probably, and other words that can't come to my mind right now, because I'm like, literally, it's 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's all you have to commit to yourself. You can do more, obviously. Yeah, sure. But that's all it's going to take. And like you said, you're like, it was almost immediate. That's what 98% of people who work with me are like, wow, that was like immediately. But then there are some that take just a little bit longer, but it depends on what you're doing and what your lifestyle is like. There is one mom right now who I think she's just now been 2 or 3 weeks. And like, we've been through like this roller coaster. And I'm just like, okay, what else can we do that it's going to keep it a little more linear? Like, what else is going on, And so that is like the one that keeps me up at night. So if you have ever joined my program and you're like wondering if I think about you, I do all the time. Yeah. Especially if you're the one who's like keeping me up at night because I can't figure out like, okay, what else can we do? What else can we try? That's not going to be too much, Yeah. So, but yeah, I think people think I'm crazy when I say that. They're like, you're just trying to steal people's money and take advantage of pregnant women.
Yeah, I could see that where they're thinking like, oh, this is some, gimmick or something. But I think people are so used to it being hard. Everything feels very hard. You think it's too good to be true if there's a few exercises I can do to completely. I mean, I remember my back pain being so low. It was really almost just on my bottom that I'm feeling this pain. And I'm like, where on earth? Like, I don't know if this is even pelvic pain at this point. It's just intense, and I could point it out. I knew exactly where it was. And then, the doctor says, Kegels. And I'm like, can you explain to me how Kegels are going to fix my back pain? Can you just maybe draw it on a board somewhere, something, something to make it make sense? And it wasn't going to fix that. They're thinking, it helps with incontinence. And I'm like, that's wonderful, but I'm in a lot of pain and you're not really helping at this point. I remember just saying, I'm just going to cancel all further appointments and I will jump into my online program. And I have never regretted that decision. It was a no-brainer.
Like I said, that message, I still have that message on my phone. I think I'm going to have it forever because it's like, I can still remember like when you were sending it, when we chatted, you sending me a message a couple months later. I think even you were like, wow, like not only has this helped with my pain, but my confidence is so much better. Like, I just feel so good about this. And I just remember that whole experience. And so it's
I remember it too because I was just sitting in my car sobbing my eyes out thinking there's got to be more out there than this. And it was just I always say it's like a God moment for me because I just remember being a bucket of tears and everybody saying, well, that's what happens, it's just part of pregnancy. And I just think to myself, I can't take that as an answer. I'm like, no, I'm going on Instagram and I'm going to find somebody. And just the very first account, and as I'm going through the slides, just buckets of tears, pregnancy pain is not normal, it's common. And I'm just sobbing like she knows. She's literally written everything out that I'm thinking. She just posted it up same day. The story disappears in 24 hours. And I happen to catch all of those things in that day. And I'm like, no. I remember telling my husband, I don't care how much it is. I don't care. I don't care. We're doing this program. And it was affordable. And I thought, there's no way. There's no way that this. I remember him saying, so you met somebody online who's going to help you with pelvic.
Right?
Yes, no, it's good. It's good. So, it really has been. It's honestly the one thing I tell every one of my friends who gets pregnant. Are you having any back pain? Are you experiencing any discomfort? Hear this or that. I'm like, I know a girl. I'm going to send you her page. She's got you.
See, and that's what we need more of. Like even if you don't take my program, even if you don't purchase anything from me, like that's not what I'm here for. Yes, that allows me to stay home with my kids and be able to do that. But it's just the education piece of it that is so, like, I am so stinking passionate about. Because the more moms who are like you, who are like, that's not normal, here are some things you can do, or here's somebody who has the answers or support for you, opposed to everyone else who I get in heated, like I need to like take a breath because it's like, oh, it's just normal. There's nothing you can do. Oh, it's just pubic symphysis pain. It's all right. Oh, it's just, it'll go away after birth. And it's like, I don't know how many ways I can say it's like your pubic pain is actually like a dysfunction. Like it's not just your pregnancy, it's not just your hormones. You're still going to have pain. And if you don't, it's the number of women I have seen like upwards of like 15, 20, 30 years postpartum. Yes, their kids are as old as I was, who were dealing with the effects of childbirth because it didn't just get better. Like, and I don't want to be that person that's like, it doesn't get better, you know, like that's terrible. No one wants to hear that either. But at the same time, if there's an answer or there's a solution for you and you don't have to suffer throughout the early postpartum, you can have an easier postpartum because for me, that was one of the hardest things for me. Postpartum is really hard to prepare for. Now I know all these amazing people who can help me prepare, that village that we talked about, but that it was really hard. And so having to recover, especially with the first one, and I mean, I legitimately couldn't get off the couch. Like our couch was sitting so low and I had a cesarean. Like I couldn't get off the couch. My grandma bought me a chair that like the older generation where like it lifts you up and out of the chair, like a lift, chair lift. Yeah. She got that for me. Of course it came, you know, after I was actually able to start getting up and stuff, but we still have that in the house. Like there are these things that it's just, I wish we had more of those people saying it's not normal. Let's start here. And more people who are receptive to that. Because even off, like you're in your doctor's office and they're telling you to just do Kegels. And there's this misconception that pelvic floor is just doing Kegels. I think there's only been one person in my entire treating of pelvic floor that I've told to do Kegels. And it was because they couldn't contract their muscles at all. Zero, zilch. And they were somebody in their 60s or 70s. Like this was not 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you to stop doing the Kegels and start focusing on some breathing and some mobility. Like we need to stop having that. I quizzed the nurses after my second birth. I'm like, I have to go to pelvic floor. I know that. And they were telling me that I had to too. And I'm like, so can you tell me what they're going to do? Or like, can you give me some insight? Oh, you'll probably just do some Kegels and stuff. I'm like, what mom is going to go if that's what you're telling them?
Exactly. And I remember I went to pelvic floor therapy with my first daughter, my first pregnancy, and it was the same thing, Kegels. So then when I went to the second pelvic floor therapist and they said the same thing, I'm like, why are we going? Like, I already know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not teaching me anything new at this point. You're saying, here's a few stretches, but they were all legs and, you know, contractions and all this, which is great. But when you're experiencing so much pain, you already know the Kegels aren't relieving pain, period. Like for me, that was my case. That was not helping me. So at that point, why am I trying to find childcare for my daughter or taking her to these appointments, kicking and screaming? And I'm just sitting there for you to tell me something that's not helping. And then, you know, I come back and I'm saying, is this supposed, like, when does the pain relief start setting in? You know, I start getting a little bit frustrated with them. Like, so when should I experience less pain if I'm doing all of these Kegels? Because I know they're not going to help with pain. I knew that they were trying different things to help with pain, but it was nowhere near what I needed as a pregnant woman with your body growing this big baby. I didn't need Kegels at that time. You know, I needed something much better. And, you know, she offered, you know, labor and delivery prep. And at that point I was like, I think I can find it better somewhere else. So I'm just going to leave this practice and go find it for myself. And that's what I did. And, you know, again, like there's zero regrets there because I felt, yeah, exactly. And it wasn't a scam. Oh, yeah. So funny.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And what's even more perfect is you're a Michigan native. Like we live an hour away from each other. Yes. We still have to set up a time to like go get coffee or lunch, which we will have to do.
Yes.
Or a play date, bring the kids, whatever.
Yes. A good idea.
Summertime's coming up, you know, maybe we
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I thought that was so crazy because it was like I'm Googling this, you know, this void out there, like who can help me with pregnancy pain. And I'm like, she is down the road from me. This lady is not only on the internet, I mean, she's literally right here in my home state. How cool is that? So.
Yeah. No, that was so amazing. And I think everything happens for a reason. I fully believe that. And I will embrace that. And I think you being the first mom from like the Momma community to come on here was more than perfect because not that there weren't people who made an impact before you or anything, but you were like, I can still remember those messages. I still remember the message I received after. I mean, it's been almost 9 months and you're still in the community and like, you're still giving input and talking to other moms and just, I don't know. It's been truly such a pleasure and like an honor of getting to know you and just having you be a part of it. So I just want to tell you that. And thank you for trusting me and taking that leap of like, I'm going to try this because maybe it'll work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, everything you gave me for information was literally life-changing. I mean, when I think of what my pregnancy could have looked like, just trying to do it on my own and feeling so alone in that, it would have looked so different had I not met you and learned, from you. It was just like, I finally felt like I can do this. And I hadn't had that feeling in a while. And so I thank you for that. Cause I mean, you were the first person that made me feel like, okay, this does not have to be this way, and I can do better for myself and for my kids and my family. So that, that was all from you. So I always appreciate that. I always get worked up, get emotional thinking about it, because I remember where I was and what headspace I was in before I met you, and to have that be a 180, and it's such an exciting story to tell now. It's such a beautiful part of my life now, and it wouldn't have been like that had I not gotten help and not found your page, and really not learned anything about the stuff and the material you taught me. So yeah, it was life-changing.
I honestly, I'm so glad you came on here. Like, thank you for giving me your time too, especially on an evening.
Oh, of course.
A busy day in mom's life. And you're just like, I still got another hour. We can do this. We troubleshooted some volume issues, which hopefully we will resolve out. But it's been like, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. If anyone's wondering what program we're talking about, Esther started when it was only secrets releasing pregnancy pain. And now you can get the Ultimate Momma Bundle, which is secrets releasing pregnancy pain, and the Pelvic Power Labor Done Right, which is just labor preparation and postpartum support too. So now the whole bundle is just support from before you're pregnant. I have some moms who before are pregnant all the way through postpartum, and however you need support through that as well. And you can use the link for my website and you can find it there, or there's obviously links on Instagram and social media as well. But that's where that is. And thanks again, Esther, especially with all the issues we had before trying to hop on here. We will set a date and get together. And then I will, everyone else will stay tuned for next week. Nothing is TMI when it comes to motherhood, and common doesn't necessarily mean normal. Always trust your gut and never stop advocating for the care you deserve. If you enjoyed this podcast, help it reach more mamas like you by subscribing and leaving a review on your preferred listening platform. Keep in touch with me on Instagram by following Pelvic Floor Mama. See you next time.